We are now joined by Professor Adrian Puren, Executive Director of the National Institute for Communicable Diseases, and he joins us via our video link. Thank you so much for joining us here, Andre, on the late edition. Perhaps bring us up to speed, with the latest case being detected in Gauteng. What do we know so far?
Yes, so again, I know people are using the term Eris, but I think we should try and avoid that. This is not WHO official designation. What you call it EG.5 and its sublineages is the more correct technical term for it. What we do know, at least for South Africa, is that we've only identified a single case, and that was in June. And so it probably could be a sporadic case, or there could be other cases in circulation. And that's the reason for this is essentially because in South Africa currently the numbers testing are fairly low, substantially low, and that's because probably the numbers of infections are low, but it does certainly continue. What we are aware of in this particular case is that it was a patient that appeared in an outpatient setting and therefore a mild case. And so in terms of the worldwide prevalence of this particular sublineage of the Omicron family, so just remember, Omicron is still the dominant variant worldwide, is that if you look at countries such as the UK, United States, China, and India, certainly there are larger numbers of cases than certainly currently in South Africa. And so the profile may well be different. But the information that we do have is that this particular sublineage is not causing severe disease as far as we are aware. It certainly is more what we call transmissible, but it's not causing a severe, if you like, wave. And in fact, even Australia has certainly reported 1 or 2 cases. Again, it's fairly sporadic. So I don't think there's any cause for concern in South Africa or even worldwide at this particular point. So I think, but what is critical though is that we continue to monitor. So the way in which we're monitoring in South Africa certainly includes reports that we can receive, but we also have what is called sentinel surveillance. So within the country, we have certain sites where there's what we call syndromic surveillance for respiratory infections. So that's one source of information. The other is obviously our hospitalization reports, and the other is our wastewater surveillance. So by triaging and triangulating these particular pieces of information, our current sense is that, yes, there are cases, it's ongoing, but that there is no cause for alarm at this particular stage. We'll always have variants. Some variants may be more severe than others, but at this time, the mutations do not appear to lead to severe disease. And therefore, and this is probably the result of, for example, the high levels of previous exposure that we've had through natural infections. So we certainly have a degree of vaccination in the country that provides and continues to provide at least some level of protection against severe disease.
And Prof, I know that you're saying that there is no cause for concern at the moment and you don't want to raise panic in the public, but many would ask, I mean, when we take a step back and we look at the cases from 2020, is this one patient which has been detected, is this person in isolation? Do we take the same precautionary measures like we did back in 2020?
Yeah, so there may be more cases, but because people are not presenting for testing, so we don't really have a good sense of that. With the fact that numbers are fairly low for us to get a good picture of what is actually happening with the variants. So we're just aware of this one particular case, and as I said, as far as I'm aware, this particular case was an outpatient and therefore had mild disease and was discharged immediately. So again, there was no evidence of severity in this particular instance. However, again, I think the caution should be the same as they've always been throughout. And that applies not only to SARS-CoV-2, but influenza as well, is that in situations where, and you've described some of the symptoms, for example, that can certainly occur, then yes, I think you need to take the necessary steps to protect yourself and protect others, for example. So again, even if it means the wearing of masks or going into some form of isolation, being tested, I think is already critical for you to protect yourself and others.
And have we experienced any deaths in regards to this new variant? I'm sure because in South Africa we only have 1 case. So when we look at it from a global point of view, are there any deaths in this regard?
As far as I'm aware, in terms of the international reports, there's no evidence, as I said, that this is causing severe spikes in cases. There has been a certain increase in the numbers of cases, but again, there's no real marked evidence, even though it's more transmissible, that this is affecting mortality and morbidity to a striking degree, as, for example, other variants have previously done. So it's behaving as all other Omicron variants that we have seen to date. But that doesn't mean, things can change because, as I said, the virus is continuously mutating. So we just need to be vigilant and see what was actually happening and alert the public when there is a need for concern, but continue to encourage individuals to be cautious where appropriate and to be vaccinated, especially in the older age groups where the risks are far higher for severe outcomes.
And of course, many South Africans have let their guard down. Some are not vaccinating. And of course, it's very rare to see, a sanitizer wherever you go now. What is your advice to South Africans, especially during this time now that we've positively detected this new variant?
Yeah, as I said, we're continuously identifying these particular lineages, and Omicron, it belongs, as I said, to the Omicron family. So its behavior, if you like, in terms of how it's affecting individuals is no different to previously. So I think our behavior changes necessarily need to change if we are being cautious, then continue to do so. And also recall, we've just come through our influenza season as well. Initially, that started to be quite severe in some instances, but certainly we're out of the influenza season. So even when we have these viruses in circulation, I think it's a matter of just advising people to vaccinate where appropriate, get boosters where required, and again, as I said, to take the necessary cautions, as we've always said, even during the height of SARS-CoV-2, is just to behave in manners which will protect yourself and protect others.